Good morning, Facebook family, and thank you for joining us today at Brookfield Zoo, where we're bringing the zoo to you. We have an exciting new addition to our family here at Brookfield Zoo that we wanted to introduce you to this morning. So this little guy is our newest otter pup that was born here at Brookfield Zoo about 6 weeks ago. This is a little guy's mother is Charlotte, our North American river otter, who's over at the swamp. And unfortunately, Charlotte was not able to provide care for this little otter kit. So our staff had to intervene and step in to hand rear this guy. So Charlotte's been a good mom in the past. She's had a previous litter with 2 pups that she raised really well on her own, did a great job with. But this little single pup, for some reason, she was not able to make enough milk to keep him going strong and keep him healthy. So our veterinary staff intervened at a very early age. So when otters are first born, their eyes are closed, they're blind, they don't have any teeth, and they're really pretty defenseless, very similar to a really young puppy. So our vet staff intervened and began the hand rearing process with this guy, and you can see now that he's going really strong and is doing really well. Initially, that entailed pretty much 24-hour around-the-clock care by our animal care staff and our veterinary technicians. So this little guy was going home every evening with one of our vet techs and was being closely monitored by our veterinarians during the early phases of his life to make sure that he was able to survive and do well. And in that process, we were able to transition him onto a milk replacer. And once he was really comfortable and doing well on the bottle, we were able to get him transitioned over here to our animal care staff. So Maggie and Nicoletta are a couple of our animal care specialists over here at the Wild Encounters team. They work with our Animal Ambassador program and have a lot of great experience with these young animals. So you can see they're doing a wonderful job with this guy. He's bright and active and very healthy at this point, and has really taken very well to the bottle at this point. You can see he's very excited about feeding time right now. And during this type of interaction, this is also a chance just to keep him comfortable with our animal care staff and humans in general. We do hope to eventually get this little guy transitioned back over to Charlotte and Benny over at the swamp here at the zoo and get him integrated back into a normal social grouping with our otters over there. He may not stay with us here at the zoo long term. We're still evaluating that as he continues to grow. But for the time being, he's over here with our animal care staff and doing absolutely wonderful. So he's about 6 weeks old right now, so he's still fairly young and still kind of learning how to move around. They don't start out doing a whole lot of activity or moving a whole lot, so he's still kind of learning some of his coordination and still kind of learning how to move around. Anybody that knows otters thinks of them as a very fun and playful creature. We've probably all seen the otters over at the swamp swimming around in their pool, and they're very playful little creatures. In the wild, they love this kind of winter weather that we've been having this year. We'll often see areas on the sides of rivers and ponds where they've made sort of slides on the edges of the banks where they spend a lot of time playing and sliding down into the waterways where they live. In the wild, these guys would normally start to wean here at about 6 to 12 weeks of age, and they'll transition onto the normal diet that the adults eat, which consists of a variety of fish and invertebrates, clams, those types of things, as well as sometimes small amphibians, small mammals, and other little small creatures that they come across. So they are absolutely wonderful animals to work with. They're a lot of fun. You can see that they've got webbed feet, which you can already see on his little tiny feet here, which really helps them to move around well in their natural aquatic environment. They're great swimmers and very active underwater as well. One thing that we don't have with this little guy yet is a name, and we're actually doing a naming contest online, so everybody's welcome to sign in online and place your vote for what this little guy's name will be. We've got 4 different choices right now to choose from: Chippewa and Flambeau, which are both rivers in the Midwest. Pascal, which for anybody that's an Animal Crossing fan, I'm sure you'll recognize that as the otter in that game. I'm sure that will be the one that my kids are voting for. And then Ozzy, which is just a fun, cute little name for an otter. So we encourage everybody to take the chance to go online and place your vote for this little guy's name. We're hoping to get him named pretty soon so that we've got a good name to refer to him by. Otters historically were very wide-ranging throughout North America, and they really saw massive reductions in their population as a result of habitat loss, as well as commercial harvesting and exploitation for their fur in the early 1900s, late 1800s. And as a result of that, the populations in Illinois were really very small and decimated down to almost no animals. And by 1980, there were actually fewer than 100 animals left in Illinois. We've had a very successful recovery program in the state of Illinois, though, and they reintroduced about 350 otters back into the wild, and those populations have continued to grow. And we've actually, over the last few years, started to see otters back up into Cook County, which is just a wonderful thing to have them back in our local areas here. Our veterinary team here at the zoo has been working with Cook County Forest Preserves on partnership programs to actually help with some of the conservation programs for these guys in the wild. Our veterinarians do anesthesia to support these reintroduction projects and have worked with Forest Preserve biologists to put radio transmitters on the animals that we've been able to locate here in Cook County, and that helps us monitor how they're doing, understand what habitat they're using so that we know what areas are most critical to protect in order to help their long-term recovery. And it also gives us a chance to evaluate the health of these animals. They make a great sentinel species in a normal natural ecosystem to understand the health of the environment as that affects other animal species, as well as how it affects human health. You can see he's very content right now, having just had his bottle. I think we're trending in the direction of a nap here is what it looks like. So we're nice and sleepy and content after a nice bottle. But we're just really excited about how great this guy's doing, and we really have had just a wonderful experience with the hand rearing of this little guy so far, and he's really just been a joy to work with. We're always, it's always a lot of hard work on our staff's part when we get these animals that do need some assistance at an early age of life. It's a big effort from our animal care staff as well as our veterinary team to make sure that we can get them healthy and get them transitioned over to a milk replacer. It's really no different than a human infant that would sometimes need supportive assistance in terms of milk replacers and just some help if the mom's not able to make enough milk naturally. Unfortunately, in these instances, we're not able to get Charlotte to the mom to really provide that level of flexibility in allowing us to provide both a bottle and then also keep him with her, just because it's a tremendous amount of disruption to daily routines in order to be able to try and balance having him both with mom and with our staff. So we really, for the best interest in the health of the pup, we needed to pull him in order to be able to get him going with enough nutrients to keep him healthy.
How much does he currently weigh?
13, almost 1,400 grams.
So yeah, about 3 pounds right now. Yeah.
let's all math. Everybody math.
We're all doing the mental math conversion there. So with all of our animals here at the zoo, we work in kilograms or grams, just as the international standard for weights and measurements, and that helps us communicate with colleagues around the world. But sometimes we tend to think in grams and kilograms here when we're taking care of our animals, but it sometimes takes us a second to get that converted back into American units and pounds that we're all used to. As an adult, these guys can get up to 25, 30 pounds, so he's still got quite a ways to go.
At what age will he start swimming?
7 weeks, so he'll start dabbling in the water, but I think, so we should start training him on that next week.
So how would he learn to swim since he's not with Charlotte?
So it's really just a natural behavior for them. Their instincts really tell them to swim. So in his case, he's going to likely be introduced to really shallow water to just kind of let him start playing. It would really be the same type of experience that the otter would be having in the wild, or if he were here at the zoo with Charlotte, where they're just kind of introduced to that shallow water first and kind of splashing around and playing it a little bit. And then as he gains confidence and gets more comfortable, we'll allow him into deeper water where he can really start to swim and move around a little bit.
So you said that he's going to be going over to the swamp, correct?
Yes, yeah. So our hope is that once we've got him off the bottle and fully weaned, that we'll be able to get him back over with Charlotte and Benny. Otters do tend to be fairly social animals with their own offspring, so we're hopeful that there's a chance that they'll take him back and kind of recognize him as offspring and sort of welcome him back over there. Normally we do just keep a pair of otters here, so he may not stay with us here at the zoo long term, but there's a lot of wonderful other zoos around the country that have otters, and we would be hopeful we could get him paired off with another otter somewhere in the long term and find him a home.
Are there any plans to have otters as animal ambassadors, where people could touch them?
Yeah, so not currently. They do tend to be pretty feisty little animals. They're very energetic, they're very playful, and they look very adorable and cute from a cuddly standpoint, but they are very quick, and they do have a very robust set of teeth. So like many of our carnivores, they're really adapted to hunting, and because they're so quick and squirmy, they do tend to make a fairly difficult animal to keep habituated to people, where we would be able to safely have them as an ambassador animal.
Do river otters float on their backs like sea otters do?
No, that's a great question. So they don't tend to. Sea otters have evolved into that behavior as a way of breaking open a lot of the crustaceans and other marine organisms that they eat. And it's really a way for them to kind of lay on their back. And many of you have probably seen videos of them laying there on their back with the food and a rock and kind of beating against a rock to pop some of those shells open. These guys don't tend to need to do that. The animals that they eat, they'll typically grab and pull, either eat in the water or pull out of the water up on land and break it apart that way.
How do you know what kind of formula to give to a baby otter?
So we have a nutritionist here at the zoo, Dr. Jennifer Watts, who has a PhD in nutrition, and she formulates all of our diets for all of the different animals here at the zoo. And she's formulated the diet for this little guy. There's a variety of different milk replacers on the market that are special made in a way that we can customize those to the appropriate fat and protein ratios for the animals that we're trying to use them on. And it allows us to really mimic the mother's milk as best as possible. Some animals have very high levels of fat in their milk, and some animals have lower fat, higher protein milk ratio. So we try and make it as close to mom as we possibly can. I think he's dreaming a little bit there. He's kind of doing some little twitches that I think he's got some.
I was going to say, does he get the hiccups to burp him like a baby?
Yep.
Is their fur oily?
It's water repellent. So right now he's still got kind of what we would think of as a baby fur coat. So it's a little bit softer and fluffier than what it will eventually turn into as he gets older. He's scooching in there to say hi. But they do have a very water repellent coat, which helps keep them warm in the water. These guys are very comfortable, even in the Chicago winter we had this year with all the snow on the ground and everything frozen over. They're still very active and playful outside in the snow, so they need something to keep them warm and well insulated.
Is Brookfield Zoo open to the public?
We are. So we opened back up the 1st of March, so we would love to see everybody back out here as soon as possible. We are still on time ticketing right now, so make sure you make your online reservations ahead of time. And we do still have many of our buildings closed right now, but we are starting to open some of those back up with limited capacity. So you'll be able to see a little bit more of the zoo than you were able to last fall. And we're working in the direction of providing a fun experience for everybody that's able to come out here. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. I hope you enjoyed the chance to get to see our new little friend up close. Be sure you go online and cast your vote for the naming contest for this little guy. We would love to get a name here soon for him. And we look forward to seeing everybody out here again soon. And thanks for joining us.